Hello everybody, this is Something Saturday on this channel, and it also happens to be the last Saturday before Memorial Day. And with that being said, I thought we would take a look at a couple really obscure, strange movies you can watch on Memorial Day. They are all horror movies, and they are all very odd and very different to watch. So let's jump right into it. If you're like me, you like to watch obscure things and you don't necessarily like to spend your holidays watching all the traditional things you would actually watch on the holidays. And little holidays like Memorial Day are no different. It is one of the more important holidays, and it's a holiday you oftentimes spend with family. But what if your family likes to watch obscure, strange things as well? Well, then you're in luck, because here are 5 very untraditional Memorial Day movies you could watch, and they're all horror movies. So number 1, of course, is the Memorial Valley Massacre. Now, the Memorial Valley Massacre is a film from 1988, and it is directed by Robert Hughes. It stars John Kerry, Mark Mears, and Mark Castle. Now, if you haven't heard of these people, you're not alone, as they are not real well-known A-list celebrities. However, the movie is about a newly opened campsite that is terrorized by a primitive young man who begins killing campers to defend his territory. Now, if this sounds familiar, it is very familiar of this era. It tries to be one of the early 80s films, even though it was later on in the 80s. It rips off things like Sleepaway Camp and Friday the 13th. And it doesn't really do this as well as it really anticipates it will. The movie is not the greatest movie you will ever see, but it is definitely different and something you can watch on this list. Now, I'm not saying that you'll enjoy it, but it is a very different type of movie that you could be watching this Memorial Day, so I recommend it. Next up, we have Beware the Children. And Beware the Children is a 2009 film. It is about 5 psychotic children who escape from a transport after killing a driver. They spend their Memorial weekend in the woods, coming across hikers and killing them until they cross paths with a dysfunctional family. Now, this movie is very different as well, and again, it's not one of the better movies you'll probably ever see, and it does sort of borrow from other things at times. But it is one of those movies that takes place around Memorial Day, and it is a horror movie. So I kind of think if you are looking for really obscure, strange things to watch, you could do a lot worse than this movie as well. Next up, we have Sorority House Massacre. So, Sorority House Massacre is a 1986 slasher film written and directed by Carol Frank. It stars Angela O'Neill, Wendy Martell, Pamela Ross, and Nicole Rio. Again, not very well-known names. It's not gory enough to be a slasher film, and it is in the same vein as the Slumber Party Massacre movies, although this movie doesn't play off nearly as fun as the Slumber Party Massacre movies do. At least in my opinion, it is still one of those movies that, if you like the Slumber Party Massacre, you may actually enjoy this movie. Now, the movie was followed by 2 sequels, Sorority House Massacre 2 and Sorority House Massacre 3, Hard to Die. Now, the movie is known for being a cult classic, and so, you know, you could do worse than to watch it just for its cult classic status. but it has also been criticized for being too close to the Halloween franchise. I guess the whole holiday serial killer thing is what they're talking about here. I don't really see the resemblance in the movies at all, but again, you can definitely see that it borrows and rips off from some things. It's not gory enough for the major gore hounds, but it is one of those things that you might enjoy if you're trying to have kind of a more adult night where you don't have to entertain a bunch of kids, and maybe you get a few jump scares out of it as well. Next up is Trees. It is a 2000 film, and it doesn't really have anyone famous in it, and the director isn't one of the more well-known directors on this list. None of these directors are the well-known directors on this list, because this is all sort of more obscure things. In the small Vermont town of Hazelville, Memorial Day is kind of a big thing. As Memorial Day approaches, the forest ranger Mark Cody starts to realize that hikers and campers have been turning up dead. Now, he of course wants to kind of close things down, but this is one of the biggest times of year for the town, and they can't risk doing that. So, because it's one of the big things for their area, they're not going to close it down. And if this sounds familiar, it's because it is sort of stealing from one of the most famous movies of all time. This movie tried to do for trees what Jaws did for sharks. Yes, you heard me right. This movie tried to do for trees what Jaws did for sharks. Now, that thought is kind of something that appeals to you, or you're curious about that, then you definitely are going to want to find this movie and check it out, because it is very strange indeed. Next up on our list is perhaps the most well-known of all of these, and that is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is on this list because it is one of those movies that if you have not seen this movie, I really cannot recommend it enough. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is a 2010 black comedy horror film directed by Eli Craig and written by Craig and Morgan Jurgensen. It stars Tyler LeBane and Alan Tudyk. Now, the two of them have gone on to do a lot of other really cool things, but this movie is amazing. Now, the premise for this movie is simple. They are two very well-meaning hillbillies who are mistaken by these college students as serial killers, and they do everything in their power to prevent this from being the perception. They have no clue what's going on with these college students. They have no idea what's happening, and the college students insist that they are serial killers. So what comes next is a whole bunch of really funny, gory moments that really does play off so well. The movie is brilliant, and the two lead actors just will have you rolling in stitches the entire time. Now, it does have a few gory moments, and that's because, hello, it's a horror comedy. And it has to have those types of moments in it. And the movie really does play well, and it holds up in terms of being done in 2010. Even today, when you watch it, it's just funny. So that's why this movie is on this list, and I think that you could do so much worse than to watch this movie. This is one that I will definitely have on in my house on Memorial Day, simply because you need that moment where you have a good laugh. Now, that being said, is there any movie on this list that actually really excites you? Something that you feel you want to see more than any of the others? Have you seen any of these movies, and what did you actually think of them? As always, we definitely want to know what you guys think. So make sure you leave us that comment in the comment box below, letting us know what you think. Don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. They're going to want to be a part of the conversation as well. Don't forget to hit that like button. It's free. It helps the channel, and we definitely appreciate it. Miko says we need more subscribers, and look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. And then, friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.